Ever wondered how to show ownership in English? Possessive adjectives and pronouns serve that purpose. Welcome to the world of English language, where every word, every phrase carries its own significance. Today, we're diving deep into the realm of possessive adjectives and pronouns, two crucial elements that help us express ownership or belonging in English. Possessive adjectives are words like my, your, his, her, its, our, and their, used before a noun to indicate to whom it belongs. On the other hand, possessive pronouns such as mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, theirs, stand on their own, replacing the noun entirely. These little words play a big role in making our sentences clear, precise, and grammatically correct. They're the invisible threads that weave the fabric of English communication, painting a vivid picture of ownership and belonging. Knowing these can greatly improve your English communication skills. So stick around, and let's unravel the mysteries of possessive adjectives and pronouns together. First, let's dive into possessive adjectives. What are they exactly? Possessive adjectives, also referred to as possessive determiners, are words that show ownership or possession. They're used to point out the item or person that belongs to someone. They are an integral part of English grammar, adding clarity and definition to sentences. Let's take a look at some examples. The possessive adjectives in English are my, your, his, her, its, our, and their. They represent the 7 possessive adjectives in English, each corresponding to a particular pronoun or set of pronouns. My corresponds to I, your matches with you, his and her link to he and she respectively, its relates to it, our connects with we, and their goes along with they. Now on to usage. Possessive adjectives are placed directly before the noun they modify. Let's use my as an example. In the sentence, "This is my book," my is the possessive adjective modifying the noun book. It's indicating that the book belongs to me, the speaker. There are, however, a few rules to keep in mind when using possessive adjectives. Firstly, they don't change form for singular or plural nouns. For example, you'd say, "This is my book," as well as, "These are my books." Notice how my remains the same, regardless of whether book is singular or plural. Secondly, possessive adjectives don't change form for male or female subjects. For instance, both men and women would say, "This is my book," not "This is his book," or "This is her book," unless the book belongs to someone else. Lastly, possessive adjectives are always followed by a noun. You wouldn't say, "This is my," but rather, "This is my book." Remember, possessive adjectives are always followed by a noun. They're the little words that make a big difference in indicating ownership, making your sentences clear and precise. So next time you're talking about something you own, don't forget to use your possessive adjectives. Now that you've grasped possessive adjectives, it's time to understand possessive pronouns. Possessive pronouns are a special category of pronouns that help us show ownership or possession. They might sound similar to possessive adjectives, but they're used differently and have their own unique role in the English language. Let's dive into some examples to make this clearer. The possessive pronouns in English are mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, and theirs. These words are used to replace the noun in a sentence, allowing us to avoid repetition and make our speech or writing more efficient and engaging. For instance, instead of saying, "This is my car and that is your car," we can say, "This is my car and that is yours." Notice how yours stands in place of your car, eliminating the need to repeat the noun car. Now let's talk about the rules of using possessive pronouns. First and foremost, you should remember that possessive pronouns always stand alone. They are not followed by a noun, as possessive adjectives are. Secondly, possessive pronouns must agree in number with the noun they are replacing. For example, if we're talking about multiple cars, we would say, "These cars are mine," not "These car is mine." Thirdly, it's important to note that the possessive pronoun its is rarely used. This is because it's often unclear what its is referring to. For example, in the sentence, "The dog chased its," it's not clear what its is. It's much more common to say, "The dog chased its tail." Lastly, remember that possessive pronouns do not require an apostrophe. It's a common mistake to write yours as yours or its as its. Remember, its is a contraction of it is or it has, not a possessive pronoun. So to wrap up, possessive pronouns are used to show ownership, replace nouns, and avoid repetition. They always stand alone and must agree in number with the noun they are replacing. Unlike possessive adjectives, possessive pronouns stand alone and are not followed by nouns. Possessive adjectives and pronouns might seem similar, but they have distinct differences. Now let's dive into these differences to help us understand when and how to use each correctly. Possessive adjectives and possessive pronouns both show ownership or possession. However, the key difference lies in what follows them in a sentence. Possessive adjectives are followed by a noun, while possessive pronouns are not. They stand alone. Let's illustrate this with examples. Consider the sentence, "This is my book." In this case, my is a possessive adjective because it's followed by the noun book. Now, if we wanted to use a possessive pronoun instead, we'd say, "This book is mine." Here, mine is a possessive pronoun and it stands alone without a noun following it. It's also important to note that possessive adjectives and possessive pronouns have different forms. For instance, my is a possessive adjective, while mine is the corresponding possessive pronoun. Similarly, your is a possessive adjective, and yours is the corresponding possessive pronoun. Another key difference is that possessive adjectives, being adjectives, always describe a noun. They give us more information about the noun. On the other hand, possessive pronouns, being pronouns, replace a noun. They stand in for a noun that's already been mentioned or is clear from the context. So to recap, possessive adjectives and pronouns both indicate ownership, but they're used differently. Possessive adjectives are followed by a noun and describe that noun, while possessive pronouns stand alone and replace a noun. It's worth noting that English is a flexible language, and rules aren't always hard and fast. There might be exceptions or variations, especially in spoken English. However, understanding these general rules will give you a solid foundation, and following them will ensure you're understood by most, if not all, English speakers. In conclusion, possessive adjectives and pronouns are two sides of the same coin, each with their own unique properties and uses. They might seem similar, but their differences are what make them unique and versatile tools in our language toolbox. Understanding these differences will help you use them correctly in sentences. Despite their simplicity, it's common to make mistakes when using possessive adjectives and pronouns. But don't worry, you can avoid them. Firstly, one of the most common errors is confusing possessive adjectives with possessive pronouns. Remember, possessive adjectives are used to modify a noun, while possessive pronouns replace the noun. For instance, saying "this is her book" uses her as a possessive adjective, but saying "this book is hers" uses hers as a possessive pronoun. Another mistake is using an apostrophe with possessive pronouns. In English, we use an apostrophe to indicate possession with nouns, such as John's book, but never with possessive pronouns. It's always hers, theirs, its, and not hers, theirs, its. A third pitfall is using its and its interchangeably. Its is a possessive adjective or pronoun, while its is a contraction of it is or it has. This is a small difference that can change the meaning of your sentence completely. One more common mistake is using a possessive adjective when you should use a possessive pronoun, and vice versa. For example, saying "I like your" is incorrect because it lacks a noun after the possessive adjective your. The correct sentence would be "I like yours," with yours acting as a possessive pronoun replacing the noun. To avoid these mistakes, always take a moment to think about whether you're modifying a noun or replacing it. Also, remember that possessive pronouns never take an apostrophe. And when in doubt, read your sentence out loud. If it sounds off, it probably is. Let's not forget that practice makes perfect. The more you use possessive adjectives and pronouns in your conversations and writing, the more natural they will become. Being aware of these common mistakes will save you from potential misunderstandings. So keep learning, keep practicing, and you'll master the use of possessive adjectives and pronouns in no time. Possessive adjectives and pronouns are small but mighty parts of English language. As we wrap up, let's revisit what we've learned today. We've delved into the world of possessive adjectives, those little words like my, your, and their that help us show ownership in a sentence. We've also explored possessive pronouns like mine, yours, and theirs, which stand in for nouns and show who something belongs to. we've underscored the difference between the two and how they're used in different contexts to avoid confusion. Remember, possessive adjectives always come before a noun, while possessive pronouns replace the noun entirely. And we've pointed out common errors and shared tips on how to steer clear of them. The key is practice, practice, and more practice. The more you use possessive adjectives and pronouns, the more natural they'll become. Mastering these will give you a strong foundation in English grammar. So keep practicing and you'll see improvement in no time.